So another episode, another day, another world out there of mysteries of who is Jerry Jones. Is he taking the back seat to the Cadillac? Is he giving the keys over to Stephen Jones? Is that what's going on?
I mean, it seems like it. I mean, you don't hear. It's just I'm almost lost at words because anytime there's something going on with Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones is the first one to speak about it in an interview. Microphones are in his face. And now, anytime you hear anything, last week especially, Stephen Jones, Dez Bryant, Stephen Jones, Byron Jones, Stephen Jones, Orlando Scandrick, Stephen Jones. That's anything they heard out of the mouth is nothing but Stephen come out. So I don't know if it's the eventual start, the changing of the guard, but it's very interesting to see what's going on with this Stephen Jones thing.
It is, and when we look at this thing at a whole picture, every team have a philosophy and every league have their own philosophy. We do know that the NBA have changed. Let me jump ship over here to the NBA. The NBA have changed from a sense where you look at these mega teams now, everybody joining the band to get together to get a chip, So there's a process within that, you cannot win in the National Basketball Association with draft picks. You will have to go out and get the veterans, and that's just how it is. Now I'm looking at the NFL aspect of it. It's almost similar. You got to have a veteran guy at least somewhere if you're sprinkling them out throughout your team. If we look back at the Denver Broncos, I hate to say this, if you look back at the New England Patriots, Cheaters, however you want to look at it. Even if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, I can't say Philly, for some reason I keep coming out saying filthy. But if you look at filthy, how they was able to get everything together with the actual free agent acquisition. They made moves to counteract, because the name of the game is to win your division first, right? Get a bye in the playoff, and then also have everybody healthy. The NFL is a war of attrition. You got to have everybody healthy. You got to have everybody flying out to the ball. We understand that. But if you don't have your key philosophy down, if you don't have your pecking order and all together, you would never win in the National Football League. If Stephen Jones don't open up his wallet, I guarantee you with every dollar that I have in my pocket, this team not going to go far. You got to have somebody with experience. You don't want to be out there in the NFC Championship game and people don't understand how to prepare and get ready and have their mindset together and be out there on the field and throwing up and stuff like that. You want to have a soldier, a dog that been out there. And guess what? Philadelphia Eagles, they had Chris Longs of the world who had a Super Bowl championship. They had the Blunt kid out there. They had guys, and trust me, I hate when I compare any team to Filthy. But it's just one of those things. And I'm not bashing the team. I'm just saying that in order to win, you got to take that risk.
I mean, I totally agree with that. Look at the teams throughout. Just like you said, Denver, Seattle, New England. Even the Broncos back in the day. Even when you saw the Atlanta Falcons get to the Super Bowl, they had Robinson that was a safety. Every team gets at least one or two players that can be the difference maker. Yes, you want to cherish your draft picks. Those are huge because you want to build your team through the draft. You want to keep on recycling young players. You want to keep that. But at the end of the day, you still got to have those strong veterans in your locker room. And you got to have a difference maker. And like we were talking about even last week, I don't want to beat the Earl Thomas thing. Everybody talks about it. But the reason why I really want that in my heart is because if you could have a guy who commands, Earl Thomas is respected throughout the whole league and what he brings to the table. When he comes into the locker room, if you sign a man like that, when he comes into the locker room, Xavier Woods, Jordan Lewis, Cheeto, all those, Anthony Brown, Byron Jones, Heath, they automatically will stand to attention and listen no matter what anybody says, because he been to the Super Bowl. He got a Super Bowl ring. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, and he's been very productive in the league. So automatically, you're going to have that automatic respect for him, and you're going to listen. And when that man can come in and control your defensive secondary, it takes your defensive secondary from good.
Oh yeah. Part of the thing as well with that regarding having the money to go get free agents is, like we mentioned last week, that the team always ends up restructuring deals And the problem with that is to pay less up front, you're basically kicking the guaranteed money to the back end of the deal. And so that's one thing where, even though Stephen Jones has had a different kind of philosophy and take on how to kind of steer this whole bus, it's still that one aspect that hasn't really changed too much. Dallas still continues to wheel and deal on that. And as a result, decisions they made 3 and 4 years ago are limiting their flexibility to go get big name free agents and all of that right now. So it's almost like, although they're taking a very conservative path towards building the teams, almost trying to go strictly through the draft and only signing the Nolan Carrolls of the world on, basically veteran minimum deals. It's one of those things where they're doing a good thing, but they're going about it in too extreme of a way where I think it limits the kind of team they can put out there. Regarding their free agency and everything, how many people in Cowboys Nation has been talking about all the different guys they'd like to see us go get? And in the end, the quote we get yesterday from Stephen Jones is basically, hey, our free agency is DeMarcus Lawrence, Zach Martin, Anthony Hitchens. Then, before you know it, we'll have to deal with Dak and Zeke in that regard as well. Their free agents, to them, like their own guys, are all they're going to focus on. That's their free agent shopping, because they like their guys and they're just not going to go spend big again on a big name free agent or a guy like Brandon Carr, who was kind of paid assuming he was going to be able to take that next step, and then obviously wasn't able to.
Yes, indeed. I like the way you broke that down, but there's the thing. When we're talking about a purge, basically, everybody remember the movie The Purge. Of course, they was purging because it was just influx of society. It was too many people, right? So if we look at this team, there's no way that you can purge and have a new rebirth of a team without cutting your guys. And we coddle our players, we fall in love with our players. And if we look at the model, and I'm telling you, everybody have an identity. The New England Patriots have an identity. The Pittsburgh Steelers have an identity. These teams that they find themselves in the playoff have a certain identity. And if you can't have an identity, we never get a chance to purge our roster to elevate those who can develop into a bright outlook or a bright path. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Jerry Jones falls in love with his players so much that he holds a player, and this is a saying that it's better to get rid of a player 2 years prior or before they're ready to get rid of a player versus 2 years too late, basically. So there have to be a new way, a new philosophy for us to figure out a way to get better free agency. You don't have to go out and spend the bank. Just go out and get you 1 or 2 guys and make that splash to elevate your team. And it may be, I hate to say it, may be a hard cut for some people.
Well, my opinion on that is I just don't understand why you're scared of it. Just what Darreck said, the problem is that we keep on signing our players assuming that we're already going to restructure. So when we sign a Travis Frederick to make me one of the highest paid centers in the league, we're already thinking, Dallas Cowboys already thinking in their mind, that's a restructure deal. When we signed Tyron Smith to that $100 million deal, they were probably already in their head saying, we're going to restructure that in a couple of years. That's what Darreck is saying, and I agree. That's the problem, because they're already going with the mentality, excuse me, of when we signing these high-end players, yeah, you might be the highest player, but you're already set up for a restructure deal. Jason, when they did it with Dagner, everybody on the team restructured. And what happens is it comes back to bite us 2-3 years later down the line. We got dead money sitting on the books, and we can't sign anybody because we don't have any flexibility, because we cut that player. We restructured his deal. We cut the player. He's no longer with us, and now we just got the money sitting on our cap, and we can't do anything about it. And that's where the frustrating part is. Stop doing the restructure.
The DallasProspect.com. We might be the new kids on the block, but just watch. We're going to be the best independent sports entertainment network in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.